Welcome to another episode of Round the Table. We've got a very exciting one for you here. In June, it is Pride Month, and we have a great panel convened today to discuss women and gender non-conforming people in actual plays. Let's start with introductions. I am your host, Sizer. Everybody, you can call me Sizer or Jess. I answer to both. And my pronouns are he and him. And I'm Ace, in case anyone cares about that. That's me. Welcome, everyone. Happy Pride. Ace is valid. All right. We'll go from right to left there. Arnica, would you like to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Arnica Ross on just about everywhere you can go to find me. Blue Sky. I did not delete my Twitter. We'll never not call it Twitter, though. And I have been in the AP scene for like 5-something years now. And it's so much. I'm so excited to be here to talk about it. It's a pleasure to meet all of y'all.
Thank you for being here. And Jen.
Hello, friends. My name is Jen. Today we're trying out some they, them pronouns just to see how it feels. We love it. I have been in the AP scene technically since 2018. It was only one actual play, but it was like a long term. I got very lucky. It was actually an all BIPOC actual play. It was fucking incredible. But I started kind of going more into the professional side of the AP space back in 2022 when I joined up with Girls Run These Worlds. And ever since then, it's just been like a real fast downhill. Oh God, I can't stop. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you as well. And Taya.
Hi everyone. Hello from England. My name's Taya. You can find me at Taya Campbell Over on most things. You can also find me at Damsels in Distress or Damsels D&D. I'm one of the core 4 members, producers, performers over there. My pronouns are she, her. And I've kind of been doing AP stuff not very long. I feel like it's been like 2 years, like 2.5 years. And I'm sort of just now like finding my feet and feeling like I belong here. But I love women and I'm excited to talk about women. That's what I'm going to contribute today. But yeah, very excited. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here too. And then we have Dusty.
Hello, my name is Dusty. My pronouns are they, them, and I am part of Rainbow Dice Club / Tales of Three. You can find me personally at Dusty Penny with 2 Ys at most social media, as well as Rainbow Dice Club on most socials.
Cool. Thank you for being here. And Wayra, also from Rainbow Dice Club.
Hi, my name is Wayra. My pronouns are she, they. And you can find me at Fake Shiny on most social platforms. Also over at Rainbow Dice Club, as Dusty said. And Tales of Three, wherever you get your podcasts. And I'm super excited to be here. I haven't been part of a whole lot of roundtable chats, but I think it's going to be fun.
Should be good. Dusty and Wayra have both been on this show before, back in when we did the performance and actual plays. And Dusty's in an upcoming one, too, where we talk about making monsters or trading creatures. That one should be out this weekend. In any case, before we start getting into our topic for the day, though, I think we just wanted to acknowledge the political state in California right now and in the greater world. If you haven't been paying attention, well, yeah, there's, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement has been trying to raid schools and kidnap children in broad daylight over there. Trump has tried to call the National Guard to crack down on the protesters over there. There was a U.S. senator who was tackled and arrested for trying to speak up in a conference with Trump's press secretary. Who is Kristi Noem? She's the DHS head. That's right. It's a mess, and everyone's got sort of boots on the ground in L.A. right now, trying to push back against those. Right now, we're having No Kings Weekend, where there's protests all over the country to try and push back against like sort of the rising tide of fascism that we've been seeing. So I just wanted to check in with everybody, see how your communities are all doing with this, how you're all doing with this. maybe just hash this out a little bit before we get into our main topic for the day. You can just kind of jump. Whoever wants to jump in can jump in.
I live in California.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, well, for better or for worse, I live, I want to say about 6-7 hours north of LA. I would be down there if I could. Unfortunately, I have to do things like eat, so I do have to go. I do have to go to work. Um, but I do support the protests that are going on. I will be going up to San Francisco to join some of my own as time allows. And yeah, fuck ICE.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Disband,
Fuck ICE,
demolish.
free Palestine.
Yeah, that too. Yes.
Most of what I've got to say is fuck ICE, fuck MAGA, most importantly, fuck Trump.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that's the whole statement from me over here. It's kind of, you know, it's so scary to witness from afar, and like you feel so helpless. But yeah, fuck all of that. And yeah, thoughts and, you know, love to everyone who's affected and has been affected. We see you, and we're with you. And sorry, the world has gone so fucking backwards.
Yeah. And, you know, from our perspective, you know, fuck J.K. Rowling and that insane bill, that sane anti-trans bill she pushed.
Yep.
Yeah. Joanne.
Yeah. And if fuck everyone who can't get over Harry Potter, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, now that we've established that she is actively using her revenue to fund anti-trans legislation, I think we can safely say that if you are engaging merch, culture, anything, fuck off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No excuse.
Best to just stay away, folks. You know, there's like, what's the name of that author who's like very pro-trans, wrote Animorphs?
Christina Applegate.
Christina Applegate. You know, there's your new idol. Okay, check her out if you need some good YA stuff to read. She's more than Animorphs. I know that much. But there we have it.
But also, there's like 30 fucking Animorphs and there's only 7 Potters. Go do it up.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
There's no reason to not read it as an adult. As an adult, you will probably be able to handle it a little bit better.
Yeah,
yes, that's true.
They get into some pretty crazy stuff in Animorphs. I know I haven't read it, but I've heard a synopsis, and I'm like, wow, this is a narrative about child soldiers.
Everything you heard is true, and then some.
Yeah.
Because I've got them all, and also I'm on an Animorphs actual play.
Oh, cool.
No way.
Love that.
Of course.
I'm playing Angelite.
Okay. Well, that's on that note. Why don't we just get back to the main topic here, which is, as just to repeat, women and gender non-conforming people in actual plays. So my first question for the group is, when did you first think that acting was something you'd like to do? And, you know, though you're improvising your lines in an AP, it's still acting, right? Doesn't really matter if you've had training or not. It's still acting. So when did you first think about this being something you'd like to do?
In general?
In general, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I've been acting since I was in elementary school. I'm not going to lie. It kind of happened as an accident. I was a little bit of a loner, surprise, in elementary school, and I wanted to get out of my shell a bit. So I joined a drama club and have been basically forced to return, air quotations forced, to return to most acting classes ever since, up until high school and a little bit after. It was a lot of fun, and I made a lot of friends, and did a little bit of formal training afterwards. And I think that it just kind of became something that I didn't feel I wanted to live my life without. It's just so much fun, and you learn so many things and meet so many incredible people.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any roles that you played that you really enjoyed in particular? I
think my favorite one was Commedia dell'arte. which is a kind of like it's a form of theater where there is like a set like bunch of characters. Kind of like The Simpsons, where there's characters and you know what they're going to do, you know what they're about, and they're
Hmm.
going to be the same no matter what scenario you put them in, but the scenarios change, and that's kind of what Community dell'arte is like.
Essentially a sitcom, right? Because really
Kind
the
of,
characters don't change in sitcoms. They just have they're there to respond to the situation more than anything
kind of,
else.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
very similar to that. Yeah, I think that was my favorite experience because regardless of what mask um I chose to put on or we got to put on, the characters were gonna be the same, but the scenario would be insanely different, and it's a lot of improv, and it's just so exciting.
Cool. All right. Anybody else?
I'm gonna be real. I know that AP is full of big fucking theater nerds. Um, I was not a theater nerd. I was certainly a nerd. Um, but honestly, I never really was like, I want to act in APs. I just saw APs and was like, hey, this is cool. I'd like to do that. And then I joined some Discords and found a casting call for an all BIPOC table, and I was like, hello, me, please. And they, for some reason, were like, hello, you, sure. And now I'm here.
Cool. Yeah.
I have. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, even if you, reason I phrased it the way I did was because I thought some people are probably gonna think, is what I do really acting? Well, yeah, it's really acting, you
Mhm.
know. Go ahead, Dusty.
Sorry for interrupting. I've been doing theater for a very long time, since I was probably about 8 years old.
Oh wow.
Um, so it's always something that I've loved to do. I do theater quite often still. I went to college for musical theater, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Cool. Any roles that you particularly have enjoyed?
I really liked playing Rizzo and Grace, and then a surprising role. I just closed a show, Taming of the Shrew.
Mm.
It's a Shakespeare show, but we gender bent the roles. So I played Hortensia instead of Hortensio, and it was a
Yo,
lot of fun.
That's cool. Like, was it just the main two who
No,
switched or?
everybody was switched. Everybody was switched.
Okay, no, that's interesting. I've seen a lot of Shakespeare. I've not seen that one. I've seen 10 Things I Hate
It's a
About
very
You, but
problematic show.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
So is it
very
just like
problematic
any kind
show.
of like is it just like the fixing of the weaponized incompetence or something? Like what's the
So it literally it was everything was the same except we abridged it a bit because it's a pretty dense show. Um, so instead of Catherine, his name was Nathaniel, and he acted just like Catherine did in the show. But instead of the end where Catherine is like docile, it was very clear that the way Lavelle was his name, he's a phenomenal actor. The way Lavelle ended up playing Nathaniel was that he was like it wasn't an acceptance. It was like, okay, this is what's happening. I don't like it, but this is my life.
I
And so
think,
it ended up being more of a commentary on that kind of stuff than an acceptance of it.
but Jen, were you asking what the Taming of the Shrew is about?
Oh no, I
Okay,
know what
okay.
it's about. It was just like how do you take like someone who's salty to be married because we know that men already act like that.
Mhm.
So like that it just sounds like your average man.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. How about Arnica or Taya? When did you first get into APs or acting?
Well, for me, sorry, do you want to go?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. Um, for me, what's interesting is I am an actor by profession, and I had sort of no knowledge of APs until almost like a year before we started Damsels. I started playing D&D and then became aware of like other TTRPGs and things. But from when I was about 13, I think I was very serious that like I wanted that to be my career. I went to drama school when I was 18. Like, that's what my BA is in acting. I now own a theatre company. I make a lot of work very similarly to what Dusty was saying. I do a lot of things gender flipping and a lot of things focused on women and queer stories and female stories. I'm currently producing and playing Elizabeth in a Sapphic Pride and Prejudice that we're doing for a Fringe festival this summer. So like lots of common themes with everything that's already been said. And I think it's really interesting because I think I can sort of see all the perspectives, but for me, I do consider what I do in AP to be acting, and it's actually informed me, and I think my experience in APs has made me a better actor in theatre. I think that's like a very interesting thing that I've learned over the last few years.
I agree with that.
Can't hear you, Sazu.
You're muted.
You cut out. Nope.
Nope.
No.
You hard muted, perhaps?
1 second. All right, everybody, anarchy. Let's take over the show while he can't do anything about it.
Okay, great. Women and gender non-conforming people are fucking great. We still cannot hear you.
All right. Okay.
All right. You know what? While
All right,
our
say
host-
something.
Yeah.
I think I will do exactly that. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Spectacular. So while our host is going ahead and getting the mic fixed, I'll just answer the question. Go ahead and buy you a couple minutes. So here's the thing. If you were to ask me, just the thought that I am an actor is absolutely bizarre to me. Not wrong, but absolutely weird. Like actors are cool. I'm not cool. Are you fucking kidding me? But also, I heard that laugh. There you go.
Okay, good.
I got you that. For me, it feels more akin to falling into that historical, ancestral line of storytellers. It is more about the bardic tradition than the idea of acting. The two of them are deeply intertwined. You really can't separate them. But sometimes you're like, okay, I got a blackish gray and a grayish black. They are almost the same color, but they're not, and I can tell the difference. And if you can't, fuck you. It's like that.
Cool. Yeah. Just people come from different places to get to APs, and I've only done basically one, which was something you can find also on the Round the Table channel. But regardless of your level of profession, being in a game where you have to act is just fun, and then there's. And anybody, even if you're not going to put it out there for public consumption, it's just a fun thing to do with friends. So anyway, while we're talking about education and so forth, does anyone here have any formal education concerning like women's, queer, or like culture-specific studies?
Yes, I went to university for sociology and anthropology and gender and women's studies. As a minor, and then as a major, I was going for psychology.
Cool.
But I only got like 2 years of that, not gonna lie, because it's so expensive.
Gotcha. Oh, anybody else? Nope. Okay. And that's okay. I don't have a lot of formal training here. My degrees are in English and in, IT. So, anyway.
My gender study was being a femme presenting person in the computer science curriculum, and that was plenty.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm that in my information technology network administration course, it was 95% men. So, yeah, that's how
I graduated college purely because this one professor, my very first professor in college, was just an asshole to women and anyone who wasn't white. So I was like, fuck you, I'm going to graduate just to spite you.
Yeah. Support women's wrongs, Or
And now I make more than him, so he can eat my entire ass.
Yeah.
Doesn't deserve that privilege, really. Let's be real.
All right. So let's really get into the meat of this topic right now. So I'm gonna get I'll read the room here on what you think of inclusion in the actual play scene or in the TTRPG scene in general. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how well would you rate like the level of inclusion in the AP scene or in the TTRPG scene in general? How inclusive do you feel like the hobby is?
I guess I have a follow-up question, which is, are we talking about like the uber professional, like crit roll D20 level, or are we talking more on
Hmm.
like the mid lower level? Because the answers are very, very different in those two, I think.
Well, let's give answers to both then. Or what do you think is what do you think what would you say is the difference, Jen?
I mean, I think that the uber professional level is getting better. Like we've seen like the beginning of Crit Roll, they were all white. There were just a couple of women.
Yeah.
I think they have gotten better. Obviously, that they've brought on more like people of color, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I'm not really all that familiar with like the other like uber large ones. Like I'm not that familiar with like D20 dropout, like those style things.
Right.
Just because I'm not very good at actually watching APs. I'm great at producing them and being in them, but I'm not good at watching them. But I think that more on our level of things, especially with the community that we foster with each other, the communities that we are in tend to be good at inclusion and diversity. Obviously, there are always people that don't quite grasp the importance of it. There are still APs out there, especially on like including on our level, that do still have DEI problems. Like I've seen them. I've heard things like, "Oh, I just need an extra man to balance out." I'm like, "No, you don't. No, you don't. Those words should never come out of your mouth. Um, but I do think I've seen an improvement in people asking for help, and I do think that there's a little bit of there's a there's a little bit of a double-edged sword there. It's a bit of a catch-22 because like I want people to go and look for help, but also a lot of these people are like, "Hey, I want help, but I'm not willing to pay for it." Like
Mm.
there's a whole lot of issues that I think we are slowly working towards overcoming, but we're not quite there yet.
True. I've recently made the commitment to try and be more inclusive just with this podcast, right? So I've definitely had it's been very cis, male, straight male for some when I was just beginning, but now, and it's not really an excuse to have not done it from the first place, but it's just a matter of making friends. I think just reaching out to people, seeing who's interested in the things that you want to talk about. So
Yeah, and like honestly, late is better than never.
yeah,
Mhm.
gotta learn a little bit. So I try and give myself a break by saying like was it Maya Angelou who said, um, when you know better, do better, something along those lines. Do the best you can until you know better, and when you know better, do better. That was like Maya Angelou, or maybe Toni Morrison. I think it was Maya. Anyway, anybody else want to chime in on how well you think we're doing with inclusion in this space these days?
So inclusion in the space is, I feel like it's still real rough from start to finish. Uh, it is, and a lot of it is because you've got people coming in. Actual play can be a really vulnerable space. And I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that. It's real easy to accidentally get your feelings hurt. It's very easy to have a line that you had no idea you had crossed. It's really easy to cross a line that someone else didn't realize they have. And because it is such a vulnerable space and people figure that out pretty quickly, they tend to be kind of insular. You play with your friends, you play with people have similar experiences to you, so that it becomes easier for you to not accidentally hit that spot. You're like, okay, I know if you're all like me and we all have the same background, then I know exactly what hot spots not to touch. I'm never going to accidentally hurt you. which one doesn't work. Bless your heart. You're human. They're human. They've got trauma. You've got reactions. You're gonna, Lord, at some point, you gonna kill an NPC that you thought meant nothing, and set off a train of events that leads to a real human being crying for 2 hours. Like it happened. So I think that's part of why it is such still when people know that we really need to be trying to expand who's on camera, who gets to tell stories, who gets to interact in these spaces. People still aren't always making that effort with the work they should behind it. They know it's there. They're like, oh, I got to do that. But when push comes to shove, you're like, okay, I've got to do that. But probably not for this game, because this game, if I just, it's got some stuff, and maybe I should just have people like me. You got to work on it. You got to be brave.
Yeah, I mean that's how you're going to overcome that vulnerability. I think safety tools probably have a place there too, right? And we'll be talking more about that in a little bit. But yeah, that's a good perspective, Arnica. I had not thought about it that way. Have you all come across things like that where it's you've been in an AP and then someone sort of accidentally hit one of your sore spots?
Yes, I've also been the one to hit sore spots. So, and I think it's really important to unpack it after the show. Like you need to really sit down with not only the group but also the people who did this, like the impacting, I guess.
Right.
And you need to talk it through. Like you can't just let that fester. It's important to hold space for those conversations and I guess decompress.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing, a game that has, I guess I want to say more mature themes or more potential to trigger someone. That open communication is going to take you a long ways.
For sure. Even if it's like, and even if it's just something as simple, well, I don't even want to say simple because that's not the case at all. It's the wrong word. But even if it's something as like an argument that your characters have that you weren't expecting to have on your AP, it's really important that you sit down and talk about it because like you don't know if that person got like physically upset or like got some emotions that they weren't expecting. You really need to, as I said, you really need to talk it out just in case,
And
There is a reason that whenever I get into like an in-character argument, I will message the person immediately and being like, "Hi, I love you so much."
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think it's also it's definitely different, I gotta say, between if you have a cast of people you know and you're familiar with, and a cast of people that you are playing with for the first time. Um, Obviously, you're going to address it differently for each, but I think it still needs to be done for sure.
yeah, 100%. Wow, just interesting things I hadn't really considered. Not being like a regular actual player myself. This probably goes for your home game too. It's like if you get into an argument with somebody, it's
Yeah.
probably good to hash it out afterward. Or if something happens that seems to upset somebody at the table, make sure that didn't bleed over into things that were out of character too. So
Yeah, I think you can only get better as a player having these conversations, I think.
yeah, absolutely. So on the topic of inclusion, Dusty, Taya, any thoughts?
Yeah.
I kind of to like just to sort of agree with what's already been said. I think my immediate instinct was the same as that. There's a massive divide, I think, between the bigger, higher up, more professional sphere, and then the kind of level that like we're all working at, where I agree, like both does have a long way to go, and it's still definitely something that needs to be pushed for. But I think on our level, and I mean, I actually find it quite not difficult to talk about, but I'm very aware that I kind of exist in a little bit of an echo chamber because I surround myself with the kind of stories I want to see and the kind of people that I like, relate to. I don't watch podcasts that are all men playing D&D. I don't watch, I don't find myself drawn to those. I'm very aware they exist and they have big followings. And my experience in this level of community has only been one of like pushing for inclusion and striving for inclusion, which is something that is fantastic to see. I would love to see that kind of be more pushed up top. And I think it's interesting talking about actual play as well, and then the TTRPG sphere as a whole, because I think it's also a conversation to have about women game designers, and women who contribute to the field in various ways, because there are women and gender non-conforming people and queer people at every level and every aspect of this hobby, and we need to be uplifting all of them because they all have something really interesting to say. But yeah, I kind of resonate with everything that's been said. But yeah, I think it is positive and it is moving in a positive direction. I just kind of wish it was moving there like faster and stronger,
Yeah. How are we going to get the word out to Matt Mercer and Brendan Lee Mulligan? They may need to elevate some of their players to forever GM status on their shows, right?
Well, and that's actually kind of something I wanted to bring up is the hobby space as a whole, because those are the people that are consuming these medias. And if those people, as by and large, as we've seen, aren't the greatest with change and accepting people who aren't like them, so you get amazing DMs like Abria Iyengar, and she's incredible, she's amazing, but people don't like her simply because of who she is. And it's so frustrating because a woman is a genius and I want to see her more, but her seasons don't get as much pull as like Brennan's. And that's because the space as a whole is not welcoming.
Right.
And so you can't have these diverse TTRPGs or APs or anything like that because they're not received well. We can push for diversity in all aspects as much as we want in this space. It goes down to the people that put you on that platform.
Right. That is very frustrating. I certainly don't see an easy answer to get out of that, except, I suppose,
I think the answer is for, like Dimension 20 or Critical Role, pushing your BIPOC, your queer people, making sure that the base knows that these people are here to stay and they are good. And you will like it if you like us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, like the big players need to just take a definitive stand and be like, this is what actual play looks like. Get on board or get out.
Yeah.
This is what D&D or TTRPGs as a whole looks like. There are people of all levels, of all ages, of all types who love this game. I don't care that the man who started it was a white cis man. Don't care. There are people who have taken the game and made it so much better who are not bad.
Yeah, that same man who was like, women just aren't as excited. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Women aren't. Have you seen a woman act?
Yeah.
Have you seen a woman? Gary, have you seen a woman?
I mean, I think he had
Sometimes
kids.
I doubt he did.
At some point, but
Theoretically.
Yeah, I know that the Slovenly Trolls podcast talks a lot about the inherent sexism in D&D. So, so go listen to them for sure. Their podcast is a lot of fun, and yeah, can't say enough not good things about it. I listened to the most recent one I listened to was the one about Medusa, which was really good. A lot of women's wrongs to be righted in that one.
that is such a good story, and so many people are like, "Oh, Medusa was terrible." It's like, no, Medusa was cursed.
Yeah.
No, Medusa was a victim.
Yeah, she was. Okay, so yeah, it's not inclusion in the regular space. If you go seems to me whenever I go to a game store, it's a lot of dudes there. I kind of, you wonder where the women are in the game stores, and it's in the gender non-conforming people, and it's probably just because they don't feel comfortable there.
It's because either they are chased out because, oh, you're not like a real player, or the flip side, girl.
Oh my god, that reaction when
Yeah.
you walk into a game store, I'm over it.
Let
I
me tell
order
you,
things online.
I used to work tech support. I used to work Genius Bar, and one of the people that stood out to me the most was the customer that I was like, "Hey, I'm Jen. I'll be your technician today." And he looks me in the fucking eye and goes, "Oh, a girl technician." And honestly, like looking back, if I could have, without losing my job, said, "Oh, a boy customer," I would have.
Oh my god!
Like, it's just truly like that's the interaction that stands out the most to me. Not the ones that made me cry. The oh, a girl technician.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Every time my partner and I, who's very male presenting, go in, they always talk to him and not me. And he plays very casually. He plays when I DM. That's it. And so every time they're like, "So what are you playing? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Just talk to them. They know what they're doing. I don't. Please leave me alone. I just want to look at your Batman comics."
Wow. Oh wow.
It's rough out here for us, folks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And to think we live in the 21st century, it's ridiculous.
And that's just the white perceived people. Don't even get me started on like the visibly BIPOC people. Oh my god, the shit that they get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The eye rolls from the Bog Witch.
Oh my goodness. It's fucking exhausting.
Not need to be called
It
out like
is.
that.
And you go in
One.
and you're
Or
like,
two.
I'm
Half the
like-
time I'm watching golf on my phone anywhere in those shops.
Oh, Dusty, we're hearing something on your
Feel
end.
free to use that instrument.
Dusty, can you please?
I was listening to it. I was pretty sure that was Dusty's partner.
Sorry.
Coming in with the
It
other
was my
half of the
partner.
story, and I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry.
I muted my actual mic, did not mute here. I apologize.
Like I said, I was listening. I'm nosy.
Essentially, what he said was, one, I didn't need to get called out like that. I'm generally either looking for Batman comics or on my phone looking at golf.
I love that. Batman and gold.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry. I will get back. I will remember what I'm saying. I'm just sitting here. I'm like Batman and golf. That's hilarious.
Batman and golf.
I'm a giant lesbian, and so that's just like so dudeish that it's super funny to me. Even if for someone who is not 100% dude, like that's something where you could be like, I am she her, and I'd be like, I bet that is 100% dudeish though. Good job. I would only laugh harder if you said, and my stuff. I'd be like, okay, Bruce Wayne. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm done. So I forgot what I was saying. got all excited about Batman.
something about
It's
BIPOC.
exhausting being black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yes.
Again, look, it can be a pain in the ass to break into a space that is traditionally seen as a white male space, because even when you have allies in that space wanting to make you comfortable, you're still going to run into some issues. You are going to run into the super helpful microaggressions. You're going to run into the overly positive stereotypes. And it's like, yeah, but what if we don't? What if I don't play a sexy princess? What if I play a fat frog? Okay, no, but the fat frog will never turn into a sexy princess. In fact, the fat frog is also a lesbian.
Yeah.
I have to admit, though, sometimes I have it easier than straight girls going into the gaming store, though, because once I stand there, and rip a real big fart and then ha ha ha, I'm a dyke at the top of my lung. That's it. They're like, oh, that's just one of the dudes with titties. And then and then it's more of a let's not deal with the fact that I'm black than femme thing, even though I'm a cis femme, no less.
Right.
They're just like, okay, yeah, you're a woman, but you like women. I'm like, I like women. They're like, okay, we got this. Bless their heart. We don't got this. I feminist the fuck out them fools before they realize what has happened. Next thing they know, they're on their best behavior.
Well, I'm loving your insights today, Arnica. Like, obviously we presented some of the problems that you can have if you're a woman or queer or BIPOC in these spaces. But what kind of advice could you give to someone who meets that description, who wants to play in the TTRPG scene? Any thoughts on how to give them a soft landing, or is it just hard?
Um, no, there's always a way to. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be hard. It's hard being a POC at this point in time. Whether you are online, offline, behind the camera, in front of it, that doesn't matter. So, since it's hard anyway, you might as well do the things you enjoy. They're gonna give you a rash of shit anyway. So pick up your D&D book and sit there and have a rash of orc shit instead of a rash of regular shit. Who cares? You know what? There is, however, things you can do. And that is start online. If you are really feeling like the space that is local to you is maybe just a little too antagonistic for you to learn in. Like, let's not even say, ooh, I live in a sundown town and I'm not allowed outside of my D&D book past 6 p.m. Okay, it's not even that. It's just, you can deal with a couple jokes from someone who doesn't think they're racist, or you can deal with a couple jokes from someone who thinks you're a noob, but you can't take both of them. Cool. Come online. There are, despite how it seems, lots of places that are dedicated to helping femmes, women, non-gender conforming people get on your feet, learn how to play a game, learn how to run a game, learn how to produce a game, learn what a safety tool is, how to negotiate these conflicts afterwards. There are safe spaces here online that provide those kind of learning tools that you can then take out into real table space as opposed to digital table space.
So we were talking about, advice to people who want to get into the hobby, who are maybe BIPOC, queer women, who are having a difficult time with it. Does anybody have any more advice for them?
I sure do. Does anyone else want to go first, though?
Start with us. That's all.
Okay.
Valid.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wayra. Pardon me.
That's okay. I think my advice would be don't compromise your ideals, your beliefs, and your identity, no matter where you go. Because I think that when you come in, you always some people are going to want to make themselves a little smaller so they can fit in. Do not dull your shine to fit into a space. You can always find another table, so do not be afraid to leave it if it does not work for you. I think that would be my biggest advice, because those are the mistakes that I made when I first joined. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that is the seed of what you just said, of many of the, I think, what you would call a D&D horror story, right? That are so popular from Reddit and with a few different YouTubers. That just don't. Yeah, it's a great bit of advice. Jen, did you have something you wanted to say there?
It was literally just start with people like us who share your ideals. You can pick your fights later. Get comfortable first, because if the first time that you play is with a table full of white dudes that are like, oh, we're so nice for including you. No. No. Start playing with people that will celebrate you, accept you, welcome you, and show you really like how incredible it can be. Set your standards high. And the way to do that is with people who think like you.
Mhm. I can very much attest to the uphill battle starting out with compromising your morals can be. Just to find a table. It can be traumatic if you find the exact wrong table. So yeah, I agree.
No game is better than bad game.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
idiom,
Yeah.
right? That's the truism. What do you think
Yeah.
are some of the red flags that you ought to look out for with bad tables?
Oh my
I
god.
think no safety tools or a disregard for safety tools, or I think I have quite a cultivated feed of people, and every now and again on my blue sky there's somebody shitting on safety tools in TCRPGs, and I think that is like my biggest immediate red flag, because it tells me that you don't really care about the people you're playing with. And yeah, I think particularly for marginalized people, like run away, run the opposite direction. Because it's going to be the kind of people that won't understand your lines and veils and sore spots. Run the opposite direction. I think that's my biggest red flag.
For me, it's like people who treat TTRPGs as like like this is an avenue through which I can do whatever I want with. Like usually when people are like, oh, like this is a way for me to realize, like a lot of thoughts and urges that I have with no consequences. Usually that is code for I want to commit violence against women, and people of color, um, without experiencing legal issues. And like I played with someone like that way back when I first started playing 5e. Actually, my GM was like that, and that friendship did not last very long. I tried to GM for him. He really just wanted to run around murder, hoboing, and work. Um, and I was like, my dude, you gotta go. Like this is not it.
How do you go through life actually?
Like please, like no, it's like it's great to do things like realize your fantasies. My fantasies are getting 8 hours of sleep a night and having friends, not like assaulting people.
Uh-huh.
So if that's
Yep.
kind of like if that's kind of the first thing that comes to a person's mind when they think about like a world of fantasy where you can do almost anything, run.
Hmm.
I think a DM who, when you bring a problem to them, dismisses you or like ignores your complaints, doesn't address it, is a huge red flag.
Hmm.
Or I suppose even like a lot of players who would do that. I suppose, although typically you're if you have a problem with another player, talking about it with the DM is often the way to go. So
Yeah.
That's what my character would do. Build a better character.
yeah, right.
Have you considered them just not wanting to do that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The worst excuse for bad in character behavior, right? The most common excuse for bad in character behavior.
You have to engage with a lot of people treat the idea of meta like a bad word. You have to engage in healthy metagaming because ultimately the game is not important as people's safety and the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very true. Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun. Like that's it's
No,
a game.
it's
Like it's a story, but it's also a game where everyone should leave having had fun. And I think that's another red flag, is just that if you like, it sounds so obvious, but I think we sort of second guess these things when we feel like an other in a space. But if you've not had fun or like you've not enjoyed yourself, like take a look at that and maybe remove yourself from that space and keep looking till you find a space where you have had fun, because it's so fun. And I think you're playing with the wrong people in the wrong way if you're not having fun.
And one thing that Arnica brought up earlier, I wanted to just kind of circle back around here is, there's some complicated social dynamics to being like a character and a person at the same time, and you can it's easily to if there's an in-character argument, you need to check with the actual person playing the character to make sure everything is cool afterward. You know, if you don't find a group that can acknowledge that reality and just think, oh, just use the excuse, oh, it's a game, you shouldn't take it personally all the time, to get out of bad in character behavior or bullying or anything like that, you know, that's probably another big red flag.
Run away,
Yeah.
because it can only get worse from there.
Yeah.
But hopefully, listener, if you are, new to the hobby and you are, I wish you the very best. I hope that you have great sessions with your, with whoever you meet. Don't let this scare you away. Just know that it's worth being a little bit canny and asking a lot of questions of the people you're going to be playing with. Get to know them a little bit and find a game that's good, that works for you. So yeah.
And kind of like building off of that, for what it's worth, also use discretion when it comes to either simply like bailing out of a game because something has happened or like bringing it up. If you don't feel comfortable bringing up what happened, then obviously like do what's right for you, but also it's telling like, do you really trust these people? And if you don't, that's okay. But if you do, it is always worth being like, hey, this bothered me during session. Again, if you feel safe doing so. If you don't, then definitely get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
But there is definitely something to be said for communicating with your table mates if you trust them, and if they are decent people, they will listen. They will work with you to find a solution.
Absolutely.
And if they don't, fuck them.
Yeah. So let's.
Also,
Yeah.
know your communication style. That will help you so much in finding the right tables and the right people for you. Because sometimes you're just kind of rough, right? I am kind of a rough person. I'm a little bit loud. I'm not always going to pick the softest and kindest way to say the right thing at the right time. Sometimes I'm just going to be like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Why are we doing this 5 extra step thing? Now, it doesn't bother me enough to not do the 5 extra steps, but know yourself. If you know that, you have what you think are common sense rules. We don't murder, we don't rape, we don't throw children into volcanoes. Okay, let's say that those are your 3 super common sense rules that you think everybody follows. 1, don't baby. And 2, know that about yourself. Know if you're sitting at a table where they've got a 5-page safety thing, you might not be the right fit for that table. Now, you still deserve access to safety, but there are people who have shorter lists. There are different ways to have it out. Sometimes it's not a 5-page document. Sometimes it's you and your table feel comfortable enough to sit down in front of each other, eye to eye, and be like, okay, I cannot play a game where this happens because this has happened to me. It's okay to not be at a table that has the 500-page list and the, very carefully defined, written out, super excellently phrased for everyone's inclusivity rules. Sometimes you've got that heart, but you don't have that patience. Sometimes you're a good, rough person who's just like, I can just be told this. That doesn't mean that safety is bad. That doesn't mean you don't need a safety table. That doesn't mean you don't need a session 0 and you don't need a refresher at the end. It just means you need to find someone who does them in a way that makes you comfortable. And someone is out there who does that, I promise you.
Internet's a big place, you'll be able to find someone eventually, even if it takes a little bit. But let's not focus on the difficulties all the time. I want to circle back to your APs for a minute, if that's okay. I want to talk about, we'll just think for a minute about a moment that you've done in an AP that brought you a lot of joy. Just think about that, and maybe, can you give us a little anecdote about that? Anybody can go first. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay.
Y'all want to hear about my favorite NPC ever? The
Yeah.
NPC I'm not allowed to
Arnica,
make
don't tell
merch
me.
for.
Don't tell me it's.
Oh, you know it is. Okay. So my very first show for Girls Run Music, my very first jamming show, and I'm so excited. It's called Wish We Weren't Here, and it runs on the Good Strong Hand system, right? It's the great Powered by the Apocalypse system. Everyone should look it up. And what it does is it takes you through like this fantasy world. It's very never-ending story coding.
Hmm.
So I'm using primarily things that are, open at the time. Wonderland, what the fuck ever, Neverland, Oz, things that have hit open. But the one place that still technically belongs to someone, it's under copyright, but I don't care. We go there anyway. Is we go to Dictionopolis from the Phantom Toll Booth.
Okay. Yeah.
And there we meet my absolute favorite NPC of all time, the slur merchant. Because while everyone else is selling regular words and making a tidy profit, he is stuck in the corner and he's got a trench coat and he just keeps wandering up to you, offering 7 slurs for $1.
What are you buying, strange?
And nobody's buying them. Go away, offspring. It sounds exactly like that. And he's my all-time, because he kept getting knocked over. I kept knocking him over. I kept blowing him up. And every time he'd get knocked over, his slurs would go flying through the air. It's just like the cabbage guy from the Avatar. Just be like, my slur! I'm sorry, just the idea of a dude selling 7 slurs for $1 and everyone's just looking at him, walking around and like, who wants to buy? And he can't understand why he's not making any money. He's my favorite NPC, and I'm not sorry. I love the slur merchant.
Everybody, this is the kind of thing you can get away with if you put some good safety tools into place first.
Yes!
Yep. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to remember that one.
Arnica, I love you so much. I need you to know.
All right. Who's got a joyful anecdote about an AP, or even just like a home game that you'd really like to share?
I had such a gorgeous experience recently. This show hasn't come out yet, so it's not even announced yet, so I'm gonna try and like not do spoilers. But generally, like, the thing that makes me the happiest was like behind the scenes. So it was once we had all the players together, we knew what the story was gonna be. The GM had like sent us all the like world building information, character building information, and I'd sort of floated out a character idea, and then I got a message from one of the other players being like, hey, and it was in this very respectful, gorgeous way. Shout out if you're watching this and you know who you are, but like I can't say yet. But they basically said, hey, do you want to be like messy but like ultimately hopeful divorced lesbians? Because I have never played with you or known you before, but I feel like that's your vibe and I think you'd be open to it and it would be good. And I was really like, thank you so much. I was really like, you have understood me just on vibe in this brief chat alone. And then what we did was made this beautiful story that was paced so slowly, but we got this gorgeous payoff. And I think it was just like, it's always going to be one of those AP experiences I look back on as, you know, this was somebody that I'd never played with before. Like, we really didn't know each other at all, and because they had the courage to reach out with this thing that they knew I would be interested in, we ended up making such a special story. And they're like the final sort of closure that we gave them will be in my heart and in my brain forever. And I'm just grateful for people and for people reaching out to each other and being brave with the stories they want to tell. And it made me really, really happy.
Cool. I'll look forward to whatever that is.
It's gorgeous.
Okay. How about for Tales of Three? Anything that comes to mind for that?
So I am very lucky with the people that I get to create Tales of Three with. We all just clicked very instantly. Um, so some of my most favorite moments in playing at all have been with the two of them. Uh, Recently, there's so many moments. I'm trying to think about the best one. Um, Specifically, my character and Wayra's character have this really fun dynamic that's like sibling adjacent in the way that they're constantly ribbing each other.
Mm.
Um, and my character Ivy just met another character who was just walloping on her brother with this weighted ball. Um, they were like passing it back and forth, and she was throwing it a little bit too hard because he was annoying. And so there was a moment where there was a moment where Ivy and Varys, who is Wayra's character, were talking, and she was just like, "I could hit you with the, I could wallop you with the medicine ball." He's like, "You can try," and it's just moments like that that are so much fun. Little domestic moments in a way.
Cool. Little things where your characters know each other well enough to make those kind of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I think unexpectedly developed relationships that come out of a game, or like relationship dynamics. Like I did not anticipate having a sibling-esque relationship with Dusty's character. But she humbles him, let me say. She takes him down a peg, and it's fantastic.
Cool.
I think I have a similar issue with Dusty where my main project is Tales of Three, so I work with the same two people pretty much for most of the actual plays that I do. Save like two others right now. But there's so many wonderful moments that come out of just like playing the game that you don't expect to happen, that it's hard to pick one. But there's so much laughter and there's so many cool things to look forward to and so many
There are, and I've listened to a couple episodes of Tales of Three, and it's a lot of fun, folks. One thing about it is that the Dusty, Wayra, and Ariana, who's the other member of the three, take turns in the GM role too. So that's a unique thing they've got going on there. I definitely recommend checking it out. I'm not current with it, I have to admit, nor with very many APs, just because there's so many. And I just try and get a little sampling before I have somebody on. But yeah, it's definitely worth your time to check out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think my favorite moment, if I had to pick one, is something Dusty said to me, which and like has continuously picked on me in RE4, is getting in the weeds with our story, because we get down to the nitty-gritty about things and we cannot get out. So Dusty's like, "Hey, can I bring you back on the path? Can you get out of the weeds? Stop swimming in the weeds, please."
We liken it sometimes to like I'm on the road and they're on the side of the road, just waist deep, fighting for their lives, trying to nitpick like the deepest bit of story that no one's gonna know except for us. And I'm just like beckoning, please come back. Please come onto the road so we can continue down.
Funny. Anyway,
And
that's my long tangent.
Nope, thank you for that. And Jen, do you have a story for us?
I'm a girl. I've just been sitting here this whole time, and suddenly I cannot remember a single IP I've ever been in,
Oh no!
or a single game I've ever been in. So I'm just gonna go with the general experience of, like, it sounds so simple, but I have a very strange safety line. Arnica's gonna know what I'm talking about. I have a touch of misophonia. One thing that triggers it is singing, humming, whistling, what I like to call melodic mouth noises. And like a lot of people, like, really in retrospect, my family should have known that I was neurodivergent so early on, because anytime someone was singing, humming, whistling, I would start screaming and be like, stop. No one took me seriously until I entered the AP scene. Like anytime I was like, hey, like I really don't like it when you sing, it would get laughed off. It would, like it would not get taken seriously. since entering the AP scene, I didn't used to put it as a line until someone in a game did sing, and I was like, ah, shit, I guess I gotta start putting this as my line. But like people actually made an effort. Um, and like I know it's not really like a typical like specific anecdote, but I've started to realize that there are people out there that actually take sensory issues seriously. And like obviously like I'm not an asshole about it, right? Like I know singing, humming, whistling, common vocal stems for a lot of people. Like I'm not gonna be like, you're a terrible person because you forgot. Like no, I'm not an asshole. But just I have never met anyone in the AP community that didn't take me seriously when I said, "Hey, this sound makes me want to pull my hair out. Please don't do it if you can help it." And that's kind of I think that's a testament to how to the people that I surround myself with, but also just this community in general.
That is very cool. Just the fact that you found a community that's willing to, help, include you in, not try to put you off by doing things that either annoy or really bother you, making an effort.
Like I have friends who like will sometimes burst into song, like because it is simply a common vocal stem, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, sorry, Jen." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I super appreciate you trying. That's more than anyone else in my life has."
Yeah. Well, that's very sweet. I like it. Well, let's move on to a different topic. So this is the question I was asking before we went on, but so let's get. What do you think about including themes of misogyny, queerphobia, racism, or other isms in your games and APs? And what do you think? What do you think is the role of safety tools when it comes to that? If you do decide to include that kind of thing.
Well, first off, safety tools are an
have a
absolute
lot.
must.
Huh?
Safety tools, first off, are an absolute fucking must.
Yeah, absolutely. But does anybody have like an AP where they do include those kind of themes where you have something that you use that you or have done in the past or anything like along those lines?
I mean, I have a lot to say about this. So if anyone else wants to go, like, please jump in before I start, like, yapping.
No, you go first.
Give us the spiel. Let's go.
Yep.
The thing is that I think, so I obviously on Damsels, we have Demons and Daughters is our main show. It is set in Regency, England. And when we were discussing making the show, we made the very conscious choice that we were going to include some of those themes. And I think it's something that I'm really grateful to have a platform to talk about, because I think it's incredibly important that I never want to seem like we're perpetuating that it's like the only reason we are able to do that is because of the amount of safety we have and the amount of trust we have with each other and the amount of work that has gone into enabling us to do that. And it's not something I would recommend to most groups doing, if you don't know each other super well, if you haven't played together a lot, like, even with tools in place, it can be so sensitive. And, the reason we are able to do that is because we're all incredibly close friends and family in real life. We work together as actors and have done for years before we started this story. There is a level of trust there. There were extensive conversations about what lines were. We include basic sexism as part of the world of 1820s England. That doesn't mean there are things that are okay. There are some hard lines. There will never be sexual assault, for example. There will never be a lot of things. We wanted to have these topics involved because the story we wanted to tell was one inherently of becoming as a young woman and a young queer woman and a young disabled and neurodivergent woman against these things that we're all facing. We wanted to explore those as players and storytellers. We wanted that catharsis, and I know that a lot of people who listen to the show have had that same experience. We have trigger warnings on everything, and it's not that we're a super heavy show where we're constantly being discriminated against. It's just that is the fabric of the world, and that was enabled by the amount of conversations we had about, okay, but here's where we do draw the lines, you know, here's what just has to be background or implied, or like, you know, just stuff to know for our characters, but that probably will never come up on screen. You know, my character's whole journey is kind of like, I was fascinated by the characters who have loads of internalized misogyny, because like I always think that's really interesting, and it's something I had to work through myself. So her whole journey has been one of unlearning what she was taught by the patriarchy, unlearning her internalized homophobia, you know, embracing her identity as a lesbian in 1820s England, because that's fucking powerful, and that meant something to me and to all of us. But it's extremely collaborative. Every session we have so much, you know, trust, and there's so much checking in, and every session we have hours of chat afterwards about themes and, you know, how we think things went. We have like a dramaturgical awareness, because that's just what we do. And it's something that I think, I don't know if people expect from me, but you know, when I go into other APs, it's usually a hard line on all of those things, because I think the biggest thing for me is just when you're okay with something in one space and one like set of circumstances, that doesn't mean you're okay with it in all of them. Like, because that's such a hard thing to navigate, I feel safe to know that's the story I'm telling with these people in this way. That's not something I would generally feel safe to do with strangers on the internet, you know, even like sort of internet friends on the internet. It requires a different level of safety and trust and discussion. And yeah, and I think the other important thing about what we have done with Demons and Daughters is that from the get-go, that's the story we wanted to tell as the three players who are all AFAB. You know, we wanted to explore these experiences we have had. That was pushed for by us. We are very much in control of like everything that happens there. I think it would be a massive red flag for me if like a male cishet white DM approached me being like, hey, I want to do this thing, and they didn't have much reason for it, or, you know. So it's one where like, that is the main thing that I do. That's the story I'm best known for. But like, I wouldn't advocate for that in like most other settings, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. And I like
that's my spiel. Yeah.
I like how you underlined it's not to be done lightly, you know.
Yeah. And even though, you know, our show can get heavy more because of the emotions and the story, like that's generally never the main thing like causing the problems. It's kind of the background, but like it's still something that, yeah, like you have to be careful with. And ultimately we wanted to tell this story. That's what we were excited and interested in exploring, and that's not for everyone. And I completely like agree with the fact that for most of this space, games are escapism, and they're a way to leave that at the door. This game specifically was one where we wanted to explore and work with that. But yeah, like in most cases, I am also like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to play a like game about this other thing, you know. I think that's my spiel. I think I've said my piece. But yeah, I have a lot of feelings about it.
I remember a clip that Damsels put out that I think was just like kind of just like lighthearted catharsis, where one of your fellow actors had encountered some like, you know, garden variety sexism. Her character was told, you know, you can't help with this. You're not strong enough. You're a girl. So she makes a check, natural 20. You know.
Yeah.
It also sets up things like that.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, those are the kind of moments that just have the best payoff, like, for us. And that character particularly is, you know, she's a blood hunter. She's just like a strength con build. Like, she's super tanky. Like, her whole thing is that she's constantly underestimated, and she always beats men at everything. Like, there's a running joke throughout, like, the first act of the show. She, like, never doesn't get a nat 20 on arm wrestles with men. Like, she consistently... Because, I mean, she's got a massive bonus, but, like, the dice knew. And it does set up a lot of really good payoff moments. Yeah, because it's just, you know, it gives us an escapism in a different way, where it's like we've worked through these things, and now we kind of get to use them to tell a story where it's like, fuck you, these girls you've underestimated are better than the men who came before them and are forging a different way forwards.
And that is one of the very cool things about Damsels in Distress. You know, it sounded I think we're getting a little bit too into the darker aspects of it, but I wanted to make sure that people knew
Yeah.
that there are good reasons.
It's still
here.
fun. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have other comments about, using isms in your game if you're your AP or your game if you're going to do that?
So, okay, there is who knows this game? Bluebeard's Bride. Boom. I'm going to pretend that I'm gonna pretend that Dusty and Wayra raised their hands. I'm gonna pretend you didn't. I'm gonna pretend one of you did and one of you didn't.
Okay.
So here's where we
I
are.
didn't.
Bluebeard's
So, yeah.
Bride.
I did not either.
Bluebeard's
I did.
Bride is a spectacular game. It is specifically built as a game of feminine art. It is a game based around the old fairy tale of Bluebeard, the man who keeps marrying a beautiful bride and keeps killing them. And he's been slaughtering his way through a whole town full of women. And you finally find out through the point of view of the latest wife he's married what happens to them, and then he kills her too at the end. So there's a game about it. This game will touch literally every ism, every tism, everything. Do you have a sore point? This game will touch it. This game will make, I promise you, you've never ran a comprehensive safety until you've ran a fucking safety for Bluebeard's Bride. Jesus goddamn Christ. I love this game. I play it often. I've GM'd it. I've played on a multi-series where we managed to make our way through all of the different characters. I've produced this game. I've run safety for this game. It's a lot. Now, I personally like games where we explore these things. I'm queer. I'm Black. I'm neurodivergent. I'm everything but a kitchen sink and a left foot, babe. Like, I've encountered these issues. They make up my life. They make up the way I tell stories, the way I interact with things. And my characters do as well, because never once on God's green earth have I played a white guy. I have never played a white person. Why would I want to pretend to be white? There's nothing wrong with pink people, but I don't want to pretend to be white. I'm perfectly happy pretending to be brown, right? So that means that depending on where the world is set, sometimes that means that my character has dealt with the same kinds of things I dealt with. My queer character will be dealing with people who don't like queers in some place. That doesn't mean that it has to be violent, that it has to fill itself with slurs and hatred, but also sometimes you don't just want to gloss past that. Sometimes it is very much a part of who your character is, because it's a poison you got to leach out. You've got to feel your way through this. So I'm a big fan of being able to explore these really difficult topics in storytelling. But, and this is a heavy but, there are things I expect. I expect thorough trigger warning for the audience as well as the players. I expect a series, not just one. I mean, I do expect one very big and comprehensive session 0, but I expect check-ins before every episode. I expect a long check-in after every episode. And I expect that everyone playing at this table to have open a safety sheet, to have open other people's lines and veils, because that's not just on the GM. You as a player have the same, you are just as in charge of this story as the GM is. And that's a fact. Most GMs will tell you real quick, I don't have a story. I have a post-it with 5 things that have to happen. my players have a story. You're in charge, which means that you are just as equally important when it comes to maintaining the table's safety as any GM, any producer, anyone else. So, like, I love the stories. I think more people should do them, but you can't do them if you're not willing to put in the hard work.
Yeah. No comment on that one. Yeah, I think you got it exactly right. Whew. Anybody else on including isms in your AP or your home game?
Honestly, between Arnica and Taya, I think we're covered.
Yeah, I mean, you two kind of knocked it out of the park on that one. Dusty and Wayra, do you have anything in particular you wanted to add on this? I don't want to leave anybody out, so.
No, that was literally everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you guys covered everything I was going to say as well.
And if you're fairly new to the hobby and you want to, I'll try and include some links to like commonly known safety tools like lines and veils and things like that in the show notes. Note to self, remember to do that. Yeah, it's very important, especially if you're going to be tackling heavy topics. And getting those check-ins. And another thing about that communication is you're probably just going to learn things about people you didn't know. You may become better friends. It's a good way to keep your group tight, Yeah. To make sure that you mesh well with the people that you're playing with. So, oh my goodness, where do we go from there, folks? I don't know. Okay, so we kind of already answered that. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to bring up? Anything in particular that you want to talk about? It's okay if you don't. We've already kind of gone through my sheet of questions, though.
I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
And it's for everyone else on the panel. What is your favorite thing about being a femme or a gender non-conforming person in the AP scene? Like, what's best about it?
I'm thinking.
Yep. Sometimes you gotta percolate on the more complex questions like that, right?
I mean, honestly, go ahead.
Yeah, you go. That's good. You go.
Honestly,
I just yapped a lot. You go.
The other people in this space, the other like femme people, the other women, the other gender non-conforming people, I was gonna say no offense to men, maybe a little bit of offense to men. Honestly, it's just so incredible meeting people in this space being like, wow, we're very similar and we have very similar experiences. Let's go ahead and make a show together. Just that solidarity. I just honestly, if you were at UKGE, if you panel where Jess just said women, that's it. That's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Arnica? What's your favorite thing about it?
My favorite thing about it is I am firmly middle-aged. I am well in my 40s. I may well be the oldest person on the panel today. And so my favorite part is I'm at a space in my life where I can give back to other people. I can help share the knowledge I've accumulated, not just in the AP section, although, wow, amazing women and femmes taught me so much in less than 5 years that I went from I didn't own my own dice to creative director of an amazing award-winning TTRPG channel that I was with for over 2 years. And I want to give that back. So my favorite is mentoring other women and gender non-conforming people. Seeing a young woman in her 20s, a young Black woman who's never, ever been able to play because there's no place that she feels safe playing locally, go from never holding a dice to running her own show with Girls Run These Worlds to leaving Girls Run These Worlds and doing multiple shows for multiple channels. I've gotten to feel that amazing joy more than once, and it's something I'm not going to let go of. I love sharing the knowledge I've picked up, and it's the most exciting part for me, and it's the one thing that I'm going to keep doing.
Gotcha. And based on all the stuff you've said, we should envy anybody who is your protege, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
I think for me, it's a sense of community. It's the ability to connect to other folks that are like you, and learning more as a. I think learning more from other people's that you connect with their stories that they have, the experiences that they can pass along. I don't know. It's the instant click when you come to a group, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that you two have mentioned before how the community that's formed around Tales of Three has been very supportive to the both of you and to everybody who's involved. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Personally, for me, yes to all of the above, but also being able to bring awareness, specifically for me, for being gender non-conforming, to spaces that haven't really had the privilege of meeting somebody who's gender non-conforming, using they them pronouns, and not backing down from making sure that that my pronouns are they them. I sound femme, I present femme, but my pronouns are they them.
Hey, you don't owe anyone androgyny just because you use they them pronouns.
Yep.
A them femme. You can be a them femme.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Also, just to shout it out there, like kind of building off what you said, being a they them does not prevent you from experiencing the discrimination that comes with being femme presenting or femme perceived.
Absolutely.
Like, yes, yes, we're they them. That doesn't mean when we walk into a game store, people don't look at us and go, "Oh, a girl."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We still have those experiences. They're just wrong.
They're just wrong on a separate level as well.
Multiple levels. Yeah. Which is why, like, I still feel comfortable calling myself, like, a woman in STEM, a woman in TTRPGs. Like, yes, I am of the theys, but I still experience the same things because if you look at me, I walk around in a tank top and shorts. I have the femme face. I got the tits, right? Like, people are still going to look at me and think, girl.
Yep.
And the dysphoria that comes along with that sometimes is, I don't know, if not every queer gender nonconforming person experiences dysphoria, but for me, I do experience dysphoria, and it doesn't get rid of the femme experience. I don't think I still identify as a femme person, because of the history that comes with that. But being seen and immediately being like, "Hey, you're a woman, you're a girl," very dysphoric.
Oh goodness. Well, Taya, do you have any thoughts for us here?
I think I kind of like everything everyone's already said. I
Yeah.
think I kind of agree that the community aspect and like that instant click that was mentioned is so special. And I think it comes from the fact that we have forged this safe space for ourselves in a space that like originally was not very safe for people like us and was originally, you know, way more like just, I mean still is predominantly like white male presenting spaces, and we've made something really beautiful for ourselves in that space, and that we've built the tools to kind of protect ourselves and to try and like make the best of this space regardless of the people who are telling us we don't belong here. that like solidarity with each other is really special, and the fact that it gives us a platform to like tell stories that we want to in ways we want to. You know, I'm an actor, I'm a theatre maker, like I make theatre, but you still have, you know, ways of pitching and ways of, you know, dealing with things that's different from the freedom you get in an AP that's run, you know, by women and by queer people and by people who have completely that solidarity. Like you have such a freedom to tell the stories that you want in the way that you want with the people that get it, and that is so special and magical. And I'm so grateful for it. And you know, it was a really lovely experience going to UKGE, as you mentioned recently, going to the Women in TTRPGs panel. The fact that there was a panel, you know, and the energy in that room was so one of solidarity, and like that is such a gorgeous feeling. And the amount of women sellers, women game designers, women dice makers that were there, connecting with each other and forging this community is inspiring. And you know, I know we've still got a really long way to go, but it's really lovely when you're reminded of like what we do have, and what we have I think is each other and community.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be one of those panels at Gen Con this year as well. I'm going to go to it.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to wrap up on. Let's go ahead and do shout outs here. Do plugs for the end. We'll just go in reverse order from introductions. So, Wayra, would you like to go first?
I'm sorry, my audio cut out. What was?
Oh yeah, we're just doing plugs. So yeah, go ahead and tell if you'd like to tell people about Tales of Three here real quick.
Oh yeah. So you can find Tales of Three or the Rainbow Dice Club at Rainbow Dice Club on most socials. Tales of Three anywhere you get your podcasts. Tales of Three is an all queer D&D based dark fantasy actual play, where the three players are also the three GMs, and we kind of switch the roles interchangeably. Sometimes throughout the one session. Sometimes it takes a little longer. And you can find me personally at Fake Shiny anywhere on any social.
Cool. Dusty, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, we actually just released a non-canonical one-shot using Definitely Wizards, which is a lot of fun. It takes our three PCs and puts them into a situation that's not canonical to the plot, but it is still a lot of hijinks, a lot of fun, and you can listen to it without having to listen to the podcast as well, just to get a feel of what we do. And again, you can find me at Dusty Penny with 2 Y's.
Cool. All right, Taya.
Hi, so you can find me with Damsels over at Damsels in Dice Stress or Damsels D&D on most socials. Humans and Daughters is our main thing. As I've said, it's a D&D heavily homebrewed actual play set in Regency England. It's very queer, very full of female rage and sapphic yearning nonsense. We have also just put out a Fey Earth miniseries, which is a phenomenal, beautiful system. And we were GM'd by the game designer Neil, which was fantastic. You should check that out. You can find me individually at Taya Campbell Over on most socials. I think the biggest thing that's out that I've done independently is our last summer with Who Hurt You APs, and it's this beautiful coming of age story in the 80s all about grief, and you should check that out on Who Hurt You's channel as well because it's gorgeous.
Cool.
But yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, and also Neil from Fey Earth, shout out to you, friend of the show. Okay, and Jen.
Hello, friends. I have been Jen. My pronouns have been experimentally they them this fine day. I can be found on pretty much all the socials at JienBirb. That is JienBirb. Because I am Jen and I like Burb. Let's think. I did spend a whole lot of time over on Girls Worlds. They are on hiatus at this moment. But I will say, as a bit of a teaser, just keep an eye on my socials because there might be something else happening at some point soon.
Ooh, mysterious. Okay. Definitely will do that. And last but not least, Arnica.
spectacular. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Arnica. It's been a pleasure speaking with all of you, she, her. You can find me Twitter, Twitch, Hive, Blue Sky, all the places. Arnica, Arnicax Ross, Ross, all one word. I'm so old, we used X's instead of spaces. And if you are interested in any of the stories or references that Jen and I have made, we both, while Girls Run These Worlds, may be on hiatus. That VOD, all of them are still up. You can hit the Girls Run These Worlds YouTube channel, and you can see lots of amazing examples of how to play games like Bluebeard's Bride safely, fun. Find out if it's something for you. And also, I talk a lot. You think I talk a lot here? They let me talk for like 30 hours over there. Go check it out.
Cool. Well, thank you all for being here today. It's been a lovely and enlightening panel. I hope that, listener, that you've picked up a bit of wisdom from our panelists today. And thank you once again for being here to the guests. We will see you at the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.